After the breakup, my ex-girlfriend ridiculed me as a coward who could only pick up rags. It also humiliated the winery that tricked me into a new love. Later, she accidentally broke a bottle of valuable red wine in an attempt to make me bear the blame. But she doesn't know that this is my winery. Chapter 11. On my birthday, I carefully arranged in the restaurant to propose to Ruashua, but I browsed the moments of her first love. In the video, the girlfriend wore an almost transparent short skirt and held Shun Jifeng in her arms and danced on the stage. The two were also wearing a pair of couple rings on their ring fingers. I stared at the video for a long time, and my heart was mixed. A week ago, I was exhausted to take care of her sick, but after she recovered, she was anxious to accompany Shun Jifeng to listen to the concert. I don't agree. She left me with a high fever in the heavy rain and drove away alone, staying up all night. In the face of my questioning, she disliked me that I didn't even have a serious job. She could only play with those rags, and even said that she did all this to introduce me to a decent job. So we have been in the Cold War until now. But she doesn't know that I'm the only craftsman who has mastered the skill of tenon now. It's hard for the outside world to ask me to get out of the mountain. I'm not the soft food man, she said. Today is my birthday, and it is also the first time she took the initiative to make peace. I also wanted to take this opportunity to propose to her, and reveal my true identity by the way. But I waited for 5 hours and only waited for her hot dance video. I looked at dozens of missed calls on my mobile phone and suddenly saw them. I packed the cake home silently, took a shower and fell asleep. Early the next morning, Ruashua came back. She casually threw her coat on the sofa with joy. I have good news for you. The job I asked a phone to find for you has finally been found. Are you happy? It's like this again. There is not even a word of explanation. The last expectation in my heart was completely annihilated, and I responded lightly, well, I'm happy. Then, I passed her to the dining table to put away the antique ring originally prepared for her. Ruashua picked it up first, looked at it for a moment and then looked disgusted. Which stall did you pick up from? You know that you don't do your job all day long. Can you be as progressive as a phone? With that, she deliberately showed off the shiny diamond ring on her hand and looked at me with a contemptuous face. I ignored it. I took the bronze emerald ring of the Qing dynasty from her hand and carefully put it into the box. She didn't know that the rags in her mouth were bought at a high price from a famous old collector. The value is more than 200 times that of her precious ring. Maybe we are not the same people at all. In this case, I don't have to spend on this kind of unexpected relationship. Under her cynicism, I broke up with her. Ruashua was slightly stunned and then said in a sharp voice, what qualifications do you have to break up with me? I'm still looking for a job for you. I've had enough of it for a long time. If you want to split, hurry up and take your rags and get out of here. She excitedly swept the things on the table to the ground and slammed out without turning her head back. The next day, Assistant Zhang Xian called. Mr. Meng, the biennial International Cultural Relic Restoration Conference is about to be held. The organizer has contacted me many times. I hope you can give me some advice. That I didn't attend the last literary exhibition because of Ruashua's birthday. This time I don't want to miss it again. After agreeing with the assistant, I began to sort out the items at hand and prepared to send the necklace left by my mother to the exhibition. But then I remembered that the necklace was taken away by Ruashua in the name of trying it on not long ago, and it has not been returned yet. I immediately turned out Ruashua's WeChat account. Just as she was about to send a message, Ruashua suddenly sent me a message for help. What followed was a positioning. Qingfeng Winery? Isn't this my sister's winery? Soon, I came to the outside of Qingfeng Winery and reached out and rang the doorbell in doubt. After waiting for a long time, the door was slowly opened from the inside. Shun Jifeng's smiling face suddenly appeared in front of him. 23 minutes, Ruashua, you really hit it. It came in less than half an hour. There was a burst of laughter in the room. Ruashua sat safely in the middle of the sofa, with bright red nails covering her mouth, smiling contemptuously. It's not that Baba ran up and was born to lick the dog's life. You guys lost the bet. Transfer the money to me quickly. Only then did I realize that the so-called call for help was just to humiliate me. Chapter 2. I laughed at myself and I couldn't stir up a little in my heart. Originally, this trip was just for the necklace. But why are they here? After entering the house, I looked at the interior decoration and ornaments of the winery without making a sound. I wasn't sure until I saw the antique mural on the wall. This is indeed the winery that my sister bought last year. Because this painting was a housewarming gift I gave her at that time. At that time, the worker bumped into the corner when he hung it up, and I also said that I would find time to help her repair it. As a result, she turned around and left the country, and I haven't been here for a long time. When he was stunned, several people around Du Ruoshua laughed mercilessly. Look at the eyes of this local gull. I'm afraid I've never been to such a high-end place in my life. Look at his bear-like appearance that has never been seen in the world. Sister Ruoshua, you really suffered before. Flowers were put on cow dung, and it was suffocating to think about it. I turned my head and looked at the three men full of famous brands beside Du Ruoshua one by one. I suddenly remembered that my sister came back to China the day before yesterday, said that she was going to hold a party in the winery and invited me to attend. The time is today. Are they my sister's friends? While thinking, Shan Jifeng came to me with a hypocritical smile on his face. Those who come are guests. It's not easy for them to come all the way. You also say a few words. As soon as the words fell, someone immediately flattered. It's up to our Shan Shao to be generous. Hey, why are you still stupid? Why don't you take off your shoes quickly to save the dirt on Shan Shao's winery? I stopped and turned my head to look at Shan Jifeng. Is this your winery? Du Ruoshua also snorted coldly. Or is it still yours? With you playing with those rags, you have never had a chance to see such a high-end place in your life. I ignored her and was sure that they should not be my sister's friends. Thinking so, I sat directly on the luxurious sofa to see what they were doing. As soon as I sat down, someone said again, "This local gull is really uncommode. Do you really regard this as your home?" Shen Jifeng smiled indifferently and showed his generosity. "Oh, it's rare for Xiaoming to come here. Don't embarrass him. There is fruit on the table and you can taste it." Everyone's eyes fell on the plate of gold cherries on the coffee table. Everyone picked up the cherries on the plate and ate them, but I froze in place. Why doesn't Xiaoming eat? He hasn't seen it before, has he? Du Ruoshua smiled disdainfully. How can a person like him have seen 5,000 caddies of chadris? They laughed that I had never seen the world, but what shocked me was not the price, but the plate with cherries. This lacquer plate is quite familiar. If I remember correctly, it is the lacquer plate at the end of the Ming Dynasty and the beginning of the Ming Dynasty that my sister spent 6 million yuan last month. It's just that this kind of vintage paint plate can't come into contact with air, and the outside is usually wrapped in a thick layer of paint. At this moment, the plate is bare, which is considered waste. I looked around and finally found the artificially peeled paint shells in the trash can at my feet. The initiators around him are still laughing. Ha ha. You look at him scared to death. Such a shocked expression is worthy of a native gull who has never seen the world. I came back to my senses and nodded seriously. It's quite shocking. This plate is a 6 million antique. Ah? This plate is actually 6 million. Really? This guy won't be talking nonsense. Shen Jifeng was slightly stunned and waved his hand with an unnatural face. Oh, it's just a little gadget. It's worthy of Shan Shao, it's just generous. 6 million antiques are used to hold fruits, and only Shan is less. Du Ruoshua snuggled into his arms, her face full of worship. The wind is really powerful. Unlike some people, they only know how to speak quickly. Shen Jifeng was praised and said proudly, "It's good that everyone is happy." I rolled my eyes in my heart. If my sister knew about it, I didn't know what kind of reaction it would be. After that, everyone finished eating the cherries and visited the manor again. I've been following them, afraid that they will ruin other things in the manor, but I'm really afraid of something. Chapter 3. And I am the real richest man. 39,103 inch 3. Looking at the carved gate in front of him, Du Ruoshua asked curiously what this place was. Her voice attracted the attention of others. After learning that it was a wine cellar, others also shouted to go in and have a look. That I was shocked. Thinking that what was stored here was my sister's auctioned wine from all over the world, I hurried forward to stop it. Shen Jifeng has been the first to enter the password and open the door of the wine cellar. With the opening of the gate, 3 walls of red wine came into view, arranged in order of year. A variety of wine decanters and glasses are displayed on the marble tasting table, next to the wine cabinet. Damn, Mr. Shen, you are too modest. Such a big wine cellar is not big. There are too many Tibetan wines. Isn't every bottle very expensive? Needless to say, will there be cheap wine in Shan Shao's wine cellar? I don't know if there is a mouth blessing to take a sip. Du Ruoshua's eyes also lit up. Afong, you are so awesome that you have collected so many famous wines. I didn't expect some people to only collect rags. With that, Du Ruoshua also looked at me at the end of the line contemptuously. Shan Jifeng waved his hand. This is only a part of my wine. You can watch it at will. But be careful when you look at it. Don't fall. My face is solemn. I am the only one who knows the password here except my sister. How did Shen Jifeng know? Did I misunderstand him before? He was really a good friend of my sister and asked my sister to lend him the manor? Thinking so, I took out my mobile phone and sent a message to my sister. At this time, Du Ruoxue suddenly picked up a bottle of wine and said, "A phone. The label of this bottle of wine seems to be a little yellow. Is this wine also very expensive?" Shen Jifeng looked at the bottle of wine and paused before answering. "Fadli, this bottle of wine is not expensive. It only costs tens of thousands of yuan." I glanced at the bottle of wine in his hand and almost bit my tongue in fright. Tens of thousands of yuan for a big-headed ghost. This is a collection-grade red wine that my sister spent tens of millions to buy from the Paris auction last year. Du Ruoxue casually weighed the bottle of wine in her hand. "This bottle of wine looks like it's about to expire. Why don't we just take it out and throw it away? Usually, there will be a special butler here to take care of it. How do you have to do it yourself?" I didn't listen to the conversation between the two at all. I looked at Du Ruoxue nervously for fear that she would accidentally fall. But she took the wine bottle indifferently and threw it in her hand. I couldn't help but say, "You'd better put away the wine. This wine is very expensive. There are only 3 bottles left in the world, which can be said to be priceless." At this time, everyone's attention was attracted. The smile on Shen Jifeng's face faded a little. "Can't you see that Xiao Meng has also studied red wine?" Du Ruoxue sighed impatiently. "I'm kind to take you to see the world. You talk a lot of nonsense." With that, Du Ruoxue didn't even look at it, and wanted to put the wine in her hand on the wine rack next to her. A bang sound. The wine bottle fell directly to the ground and broke. The strong fragrance of wine soon permeated the wine cellar. Looking at the torn wine bottles on the ground, I only felt my temples jumping and almost lost my breath. Everyone in the cellar was shocked. Du Ruoxue came back to her senses and said, "Afeng, this wine is really not expensive, is it? It should be okay if it is broken." Shen Jifeng waved his hand and said it was okay. Only then did Du Ruoxue breathe a sigh of relief and coquettishly with red eyes. "Afeng, you are so kind." I sneered and took out my mobile phone. If I remember correctly, this bottle of wine was sold for 50 million yuan at the Paris auction last year. Chapter 4. Who are you going to pay for this bottle of wine? What I showed them was the transaction price displayed at the auction site when my sister took pictures of this bottle of wine. Everyone's face changed greatly after seeing the content in my mobile phone. Du Ruoxue was scared to death, but she was still strong and calm. I said, "Meng Xingqing, even if the price of this bottle of wine is not high, it's up to you to pay or not." When the other 3 heard Du Ruoxue's words, they also reacted instantly. "That's it." Shen Xiao didn't say anything. "What have you been doing here?" At this time Shen Jifeng, who had been silent, said lightly, "Don't worry, this bottle of wine is fake and worthless." Then he looked at me again. "Xiao Meng, I know you don't like me because of Ruoxue, but you provoked me 3 or 4 times in my manner. Why do you show off? I don't welcome you here. Please leave immediately." Du Ruoxue also accompanied. "You are just jealous that Afeng is richer than you. You don't know and pretend to understand. That's right, people like you don't deserve to be here. Get out of here." Looking at their arrogant faces, I looked at the time helplessly. My sister should be coming soon. At this time the sound of opening the door came from outside. As soon as I turned my head, I saw my sister Meng Xinghui standing at the door of the wine cellar. This time it's really a good show. She saw a pool of red wine and a broken glass on the floor of the wine cellar, and her face sank in an instant, with a serious tone that could not be ignored. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" I noticed that Shen Jifeng's face turned pale in an instant, and several other people were still puzzled. At this time Du Ruoxue suddenly rushed to my sister, looked at her up and down and questioned with hostility, "Who are you? How did you come in? Why is there a password for the manor?" My sister stared at her for a long time before she asked tentatively, "Are you Du Ruoxue?" I once sent her a photo of Du Ruoxue. I didn't expect that my sister still remembered it. But at this time, Du Ruoxue's behavior obviously misunderstood the relationship between my sister and Shen Jifeng, and regarded her as a rival. He even swore sovereignty with a proud face. "It's good to know who I am. I'm Afeng's real girlfriend. Don't think that you can take away Afeng by getting the password of the manor by means." My sister's eyes became sharp in an instant. I knew that she was on the verge of rage. "Who is Afeng?" Then Shen Jifeng stubbornly stepped forward and said with a dry smile, "Hello, Miss Xingqi. I'm Shen Jifeng. We've met before. Do you remember?" Shen Jifeng? I don't know you. Why are you in my house? And who broke my bottle of 50 million yuan worth of wine? Ah. At this time everyone was stunned for a while. You look at me, I look at you, it's really lively. Even Du Ruoxue realized that something was wrong. She pushed Shen Jifeng hard and asked in a panic. A Feng, isn't this winery yours? Only then did Shen Jifeng come back to his senses. His face was so bad that he hesitated and couldn't answer. Seeing this, Meng Xinghui took out his mobile phone and swept through the crowd with fierce eyes. Since no one admits it, I have to leave it to the police to deal with it. When they heard that they were going to call the police, the others were dumbfounded. Du Ruoxue suddenly raised her finger to me. He broke your wine and everyone saw it with their own eyes. The other people also reacted and joined one after another, and were sure that I broke it. At this time, Shen Jifeng also pointed his finger at me and blamed me without hesitation. It's all his fault. He had to come in to visit and said that he was going to the wine cellar. I persuaded him several times but he just didn't listen. Now he broke the wine and wanted to drag us into the water. After he finished talking, the wine cellar was quiet and terrible, and my sister's face became more ugly. Seeing this, the other people's faces were full of gloating, as if they were sure that I would be unlucky next. But suddenly my sister came over with a smile and hugged my shoulder intimately. Is that what they said? My good brother. Chapter 5. Silence. The silence in the room. It was quieter than when everyone knew Shen Jifeng's true identity before. Except for my sister, everyone stared wide-eyed and looked at me with incredible eyes. I don't know how long it took Du Ruoxue spoke, but his voice was a little broken. What? Younger brother. I ignored Du Ruoxue and went straight to my sister. Sister, I thought these people were the friends you invited. Seeing that our sister and brother have such a good relationship, Shen Jifeng's 3 friends also come back to their senses in an instant. This wine has nothing to do with me. I didn't even touch it. It's not me, it's this woman who broke it. Yes, it's her. And she also proposed to blame this matter on your brother. Du Ruoxue was angry, annoyed and afraid when she saw that everyone was rebutting one after another. She looked at me with pleading eyes, but I completely ignored her. So she looked at Shen Jifeng, who was pretending to be a quail, and said in an angry tone, he brought us in. He told us that he was the owner of the winery, and he also took us to visit the wine cellar. If he didn't have the key, how could we come in? When Shen Jifeng heard that Du Ruoxue threw all the blame on himself, he was not willing to do it. You bitch, you broke this bottle of wine, but you still want to rely on me. Seeing that the two were about to fight, my sister also frowned to stop them. You brought someone into my winery without the consent of the master. You are trespassing into a private house, and you not only broke the treasured red wine, but also wanted to blame my brother. I have the right to ask you to compensate for my loss and my brother's mental loss. As for you, the 3 of you silently insulted my brother, and helped this woman slandered my brother together. None of you can run away. After saying that, she called the police directly. At this time Shen Jifeng was so scared that he collapsed on the ground and begged. I'm Shen Zhenghua's son. My father has been driving for you. Please let me go for my father's sake. The appearance of him kneeling down and begging for mercy made several people around him freeze in place, and his expression became more and more wonderful. It's useless to tell me this. When the police come, you tell the police to go. Hearing the words, Du Ruoxue directly knelt down and hugged my thigh. Star, I know I'm wrong. Can you forgive me again? I swear, I will treat you well in the future. In fact, you can't blame me. You didn't tell me your true identity. If you had told me earlier, there would have been so many misunderstandings between us. Du Ruoxue knows which of hers I like the most. It turns out that as long as she sheds tears and spoils, even if she wants the stars in the sky, I will find a way to pick them for her. But the premise of all that is that I love her. Now I don't love her anymore. So even if she cries to death here, I won't be moved. Put away your tears. You are useless to me now. According to you, if I am really a poor boy, should I be bullied by you at will? Du Ruoxue shook her head and waved her hand quickly. No, I don't mean that. I interrupted Du Ruoxue directly. It doesn't matter. In fact, I came to you today because you took a necklace from me at the beginning. Do you remember? The necklace. Looking at Du Ruoxue's appearance, I knew that she couldn't remember clearly. It's the emerald necklace. A month ago, didn't you say that my emerald necklace was made the same as the real one? I had to try it on, but it hasn't been returned to me yet. Du Ruoxue remembered. You said that the green glass on that necklace is really emerald. I noticed the greedy gaze in her eyes and once again despised the way she was looking for a girlfriend at the beginning. Before I could speak, my sister sitting next to me took the lead and said, "It's emerald. It's a relic left by our mother, which is said to be left to her future daughter-in-law." Chapter 6. Speaking of this, my sister also took a special glance at Du Ruoshua. "So, Miss Du, I advise you to return it to Xingchen honestly. Stealing a valuable emerald necklace is much more serious than breaking a bottle of red wine. I believe that Miss Du is a smart person and will not joke about the rest of her life." I gave my sister a thumbs up secretly. It has to be my own sister. "Hi. It's really hi." My sister not only called a lawyer and a policeman, but also called the driver Lao Shan. I have seen this old Shan several times. He looks like an honest and loyal person, but he didn't expect his son to be so vain. When Lao Shan saw me, he respectfully shouted to me, "Young master." Then he turned his hand and gave Shun Jifeng a loud slap. Shun Jifeng is still in the spirit of when I first came here, and his whole body is sitting on the ground in embarrassment. Du Ruoshua looked at her with more disgust than when she looked at me at the beginning, and his three self-righteous good friends are as far away from him as they can. Finally, after being interrogated by the police, I knew that the young master Shin Jifeng pretended to be outside was actually me. Because I rarely attended the parties of the rich second generation before, almost no one knew what I looked like except my family. In addition, his father has been a driver in my house for more than 10 years. It can be said that he knows my family like the back of his hand, which is why he pretended to be unrecognizable for so long. At the end of the farce, Shin Jifeng was administratively detained for 7 days, and fined 10,000 yuan for trespassing into a private house and causing losses to the owner. Du Ruoshua's damage to valuables needs to be compensated at an equivalent price. The other 3 also receive corresponding penalties. As for Lao Shan, out of shame, he also took the initiative to submit his resignation to my sister. Du Ruoshua wanted to please me several times, but I ruthlessly refused. I just told him that the emerald necklace must be returned to me within 3 days. Du Ruoshua called me on the last day. When she saw her, she obviously dressed up carefully. In the past, she only dressed up so grandly when she went to see Shen Jifeng. Stars! She put on a grieved look, and I felt sorry for her. But I didn't even lift my eyelids and said on business, "Where is my necklace? Give it to me. I'm in a hurry." Du Ruoshua is still a thief. Slowly take out the emerald necklace from the bag. "Star, I really know it's wrong. Why don't you give someone another chance? I promise that I will treat you well in the future." I looked at my watch impatiently. I'm going abroad with my sister to attend the literary exhibition later. I don't have much time with her. Do you want to give me a necklace or do you want me to call the police? Star, don't be so ruthless. I was not moved and took out my mobile phone to call the police. Seeing that I was serious, Du Ruoshua slowly took out the emerald necklace from her bag and handed it to me. I took the necklace and put it in my backpack after checking it. I didn't want to have any more intersection with the woman in front of me, so I turned around and left. But my arm was still caught by Du Ruoshua. Star, is it really impossible between us? I looked at her indifferently and wanted to pull out my arm, but Du Ruoshua still refused to let go. Perhaps seeing my resolute attitude, she gritted her teeth and then said reluctantly, "Even if we can't do it now, for the sake of our 3 years together, that bottle of wine can't really be compensated by me." I hooked the corners of my mouth. "Sorry, that bottle of wine belongs to my sister, so I can't make a decision for her." After saying that, I tried my best to break free from her clamp and turned away without turning my head. Du Ruoshua's family conditions are actually not bad. I'm not worried at all that she can't afford to pay compensation. As for how much family property she needs to sell to compensate for this bottle of wine, that's not what I should care about. The International Cultural Relic Restoration Conference was held very successfully, and the emerald necklace was also identified as an A-level collection by experts. Although I have experienced this farce, being a low-key person is still my principle of life. I always believe that wealth is never the standard for judging a person's value.